Hey all, we are going to talk about the balance of your macronutrients and really in relation to fat for this portion of the lesson. Cool if that moved for me, I'm sorry. So the first thing, and we've already kind of covered this, is just your macronutrient distribution. You can see it here on a pie graph. You can see the large portion over there in the lighter blue is your carbohydrates. You're looking at trying to get like 55 to 60% of your macronutrient distribution from carbs. I know I have 55% here. That's just to make the math work, but there's some variation there. The bottom portion there in green, that would be your protein. Again, the recommendation is somewhere like 12 to 15% of your total calories. And then your fat. And you can see there that there's two sections of fat. There's the 20% section of fat there. That is just going to be added to the orange slice that's out that is at 10%. So about 30% or less than 30% of your diet should come from fats. And then that 10% is like the limit of how much saturated fat you want to have in your diet. So again, the total for fats is less than 30%. The total for saturated fat is less than 10%. Again, that goes down to like the recommendations have been down as low as like 6% in terms of like saturated fat. And this is all in relation to like cardiovascular disease or heart disease, right? And trying to prevent that and what those recommendations are. And here's just kind of an easier way to look at it from outside the pie chart. So again, fat less than 30%. You want to have your saturated fats less than 10, like the recommendations have been as low as 6. Protein 12 to 15%, and then carbohydrates between 55 and 60%. And then you have some variations within there, right? So if you were like an endurance athlete, you're going to want to have more carbohydrates. Why is that? Well, carbohydrates are our main source of fuel. It's the preferred source of fuel. It can be burned in the two energy systems, not the ATP-PC, but in anaerobic glycolytic and the aerobic glycolytic cycles, right? Like those are the ones that that's the fuel source your body likes and wants to use when possible. And then you might have like a bodybuilder, right? Like, you know, they're going to be recommending like 1 gram per pound for bodybuilders, right? So if you're 200 pounds, they're like, hey, the recommendation's trying to get like 200 grams of protein, probably in excess for most of us. But again, if you're someone that's a professional bodybuilder and maybe partakes in supplements that aren't legal but part of that sport, that could be one of the variations within diets. But again, these are your general recommendations. This is going to work for most people, and again, like, it all comes down to your goals and what you're trying to do. So as you're exercising or as you're trying to make changes, you know, you can kind of play with this. You know, the best thing is to kind of figure out what protein needs you have, right? Then understand like, hey, I don't want to have more than 30% of my fat or my diet come from fat, and then just kind of figure out like what you need from carbs in there, right? And fill in the gaps. And then there's the old like energy in equals, or if energy in is equal to energy out, there's no weight gain. And then, you know, energy in greater than energy out, weight gain, and then energy out greater than energy in, you're going to have weight loss, right? So there's all those kind of or that balanced equation there. But again, it comes down to your goals, what you guys want to do, and ultimately like what you're trying to accomplish within your fitness goals. But this is like just your basic recommendations in terms of what health officials say. And then if you wanted to try to calculate this, right? So like, how much do I need to eat? I know I already kind of gave you the basics, but like, here's like, if you're looking at fat and how like dense it is, right? So on a 2,000 calorie diet, right? If I know that no more of my diet should come from fat, right? So that's 30%, right? That's going to give me 600 total calories from fat. Like, so how do I figure out how many grams that is, which is what's on the back of a food label? Well, 600 calories divided by the caloric density, so 9 calories per gram, would give me about 66 grams of fat. I actually think it's like 66.66, right? So up to 67 grams is kind of where you're looking at. In relation to like the density of carbohydrates, like how many grams of carbs do I have to do or eat to get that same amount, those same number of calories, right? So if I have 600 calories of carbohydrates, right, I'm going to divide that by 4 calories per gram, and that's going to be 150 grams of carbohydrates I have to eat to get the same amount of energy into my body. So you can see there's a distinct difference between fat and carbs, and like fat's not the enemy, it's the fact that we just get so much of it and it's so dense that we add weight so quickly because we're probably taking in, you know, well above our recommended or our basic needs. So that's all, and thank you.